Hello everyone, welcome to An American Watches F1. My name is Dave, I am the host of this channel. This is the first video on the channel, and honestly it wasn't the video that I wanted to make. I wanted to make another video to be the first video, either a video about testing and what's going on in Barcelona, or take a big bite into that shit sandwich known as the Michael Masi controversy, or just about the history of Formula One in the United States. As someone who's been watching Formula One in this country for many, many years, since the mid-'80s, I want to talk about that history. That's what I wanted this channel to be about, and it's going to be about that. That's what the goal is of this entire channel. But we can't ignore what happened today. So if you are like me, your eye was on testing, but your eye was more on what was happening in Ukraine and in Russia. Now, for me, I'm somebody who actually works a lot with people from both Russia and Ukraine, so it took an extra toll on me compared to, let's say, an average day. So that was something that was very stressful for me today. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I want to talk about the morality of Formula One. So over the last, I would probably say about 20 years, starting with Bernie Ecclestone, now get into Liberty Media, we have to ask ourselves, what is the moral responsibility of Formula One? Is it an organization that should be morally responsible? Should they determine where they want to have a race or where they don't want to have a race based on morals, democracy, things like that? Or is it okay to have a Formula One race somewhere that is not necessarily adhering to certain values? Now, of course, we can interpret what those values are, but I think a lot of people today will say, you know, one country invaded another country. In fact, my favorite driver, Sebastian Vettel, back here, he said it today. He said, listen, I'm not going to race in the Russian Grand Prix. If it's there, I'm not going to race in it. But the problem is even though Sebastian Vettel is somebody who has really already come out and been very straightforward on what his opinion is and was not shy to say it almost immediately, it is something that is taking a little bit of time for the rest of the Formula One world to kind of come to grips with. So as an American and as the American team is Haas, and I'll get into why I did air quotes on that in a second, you know, there's a big dilemma. And Haas came out today and said, listen, this company that is supported by Putin and actually has a Putin ally on its board, we're going to go ahead and remove their, delivery for one day in testing in Barcelona. Barcelona is not being televised right now, right? So one day of testing, they're going to take off delivery, and one day of testing that's not even on television. What does that do? What kind of message does that send? In fact, I think that sends a message of weakness. But it isn't just Haas that I blame for this. I mean, Haas should be saying we are going to get rid of this sponsor permanently. Now, as far as Nikita Mazepin goes, yes, I know the money goes with him. You have to look at him as a race driver, I think. We can have a lot of debate about that one, actually. But I think overall, they need to make this choice. They need to say, hey, listen, we finally have to get rid of the sponsor. It's not helping our image. It's not helping the image of the sport. So that's one thing that we need to do. But with that being said, it is a problem bigger than just Haas. Everyone's talking about Haas, but, Formula One has a Grand Prix in Sochi. And right now, Formula One is saying we are evaluating the situation or looking closely at it. Russia invaded a fucking country. What other closeness do you have to have than that? Right now, people are being killed in Kyiv. People are being killed in Odessa. People are getting killed in other parts of Ukraine. What else do you need? But this has been a problem that Formula One has had for many, many years. Even back to the Bernie Ecclestone times. There were always those Grand Prix that started coming around at the beginning of the 2000s, I would say, that we were kind of questioning their motives, right? We were kind of questioning, why does this country such as Bahrain, one of the first countries that we're going to have, or the first race we're going to have of the Formula One season, why does Bahrain have a Grand Prix? Why do certain other countries have a Grand Prix? And we always have been asking ourselves this. A lot of fans say a lot of these places shouldn't have a race. It's kind of like having, the World Cup in one of the hottest countries in the world. Thank God they kind of switched the time on that. And this is a time where I think that Liberty Media and the whole Formula One apparatus needs to step back. Needs to step back and say, listen, are we making the right decisions that will improve our image? Now, of course, they might be trying to grow their image in a lot of these countries. And I understand that. That's fine. I'm not opposed to that. But the question I have, and I don't even know if I have the answer really, is should we be creating some sort of ethical criteria for somebody to have a Formula One race? So should China have a Formula One race, for example, even though they are imprisoning the Uyghur population, right? We have this moral dilemma there. We have obviously the issue with Russia now invading a country without any provocation whatsoever. These are the strong questions that Formula One has to ask itself and really needs to determine if it's going to be a shaper of morality or a follower of immorality. And I don't know which one they're going to do. But I wanted to make this video today to just say that the issue of ethics in Formula One has been one that is been challenging. I mean, it's really been challenging. It's really been something that a lot of us have looked at and said, maybe not a Formula One race there. That might not necessarily be a good idea. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, as an American, why can you say that? Look at what your government does and so on. That's not my argument. What I am and what my government is, that's not it. The argument here is, what should Formula One stand for? And, maybe it doesn't stand for anything. Maybe it stands for money. Maybe it stands for power. Maybe it stands for just having a race and being able to make money off of that race and build as big of an audience as they can. Fair enough. That's what a company does. They try to bring as much profit as they can. But there was this one part of the movie, The Big Short. And in The Big Short, Steve Carell's character was talking to somebody who gave ratings for stocks. And they were giving these very, very high ratings for the bonds that had these bad mortgages in it. And these should have been rated really low, but they were getting the highest ratings. And Steve Carell says, why are you giving them high ratings? And they said, because if we don't give them the high ratings, they'll go over to Moody's. They'll go over to the other people and get a rating. And he said, so, you can afford to make less money. Why don't you just do that? And this might be the question we have to ask Formula One. Formula One can afford to make less money. Why doesn't it do that? These are questions I think that really, when it comes to the Russian Grand Prix, it comes to Haas behind me with sponsorship, though that's a team issue, that's not an F1 issue, we really need to ask ourselves, where does the sport stand? And I try to take politics and morality out of the sport, especially if it's not related to the sport, right? But this might be different, okay? I mean, this really might be different because we are talking about the invasion of a sovereign nation unprovoked for the first time in Europe, where a majority of the Grand Prix are held, for many, many years. Or I say where most of the Grand Prix are held, as far as different continents and stuff. So it's a hard one for me to do. My next video is going to be a lot more happier, I guess. So it's not going to be as gloomy as this one. But I just felt that today, with all of the issues and all the things that are going on with Formula One, what's going on with all this that Mazepin's getting, Haas, and the Russian Grand Prix, it needs to be discussed. So thank you all very much for being on my channel today. Please subscribe, like this if you agree. I want to know your opinion. What do you think about this? Do Formula One have a moral obligation? Do they not? Is it purely business? I don't know. You decide. I'm kind of bringing this out as a question, not necessarily talking about it as my definitive answer, though I think you all know where I might be on this. But thank you very much. I will be having a video maybe tomorrow after testing, because testing's been really damn exciting. Unfortunately, a war is getting in the way of testing. So thank you all very much. Please like and subscribe if you're a Formula One fan. Tell your friends about it. The whole idea about this channel is to give kind of an American perspective to Formula One that is, that's seen the history of it. Like I said, since the mid 80s on, on ESPN and on NBC, even before ESPN had it, I would watch Formula One. And throughout the years, I've just seen the sport evolve extremely slowly, but that's what a lot of my videos are going to be about. So I want to thank you all very much for at least watching this video. Please subscribe, and tomorrow or the day after, we'll talk about testing. And then that big shit sandwich of Michael Masi, I'm trying to still decide if I want to bite into that and just take a good, taste of it. We'll see. Because one nice thing about testing has been, we haven't had to hear about Michael Masi until somebody asked Max Verstappen about Michael Masi. Jesus Christ. All right. We'll talk about that later. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye-bye.